What's up, chat? What's going on? So we have finally concluded The Mandalorian Season 3. And there will be spoilers in this video, but I'm sure you guys are being bombarded anyways online, so let's just add to it. Going over a bunch of theories and stuff that I wanted to talk about, a ton of you tagged the absolute crap out of me on Twitter. It's in regards to this post. So if you remember last week, a lot of you in the chat were saying, he doesn't have his mustache. And then last night in the watch party, which I'm still buzzing over, if you remember, I was like, does he have his mustache? Or did he grow it back? Because in the promo photos, he had his mustache, right? But like, I think they just took photos from season 2 or something like that. So anyways, you guys have been tagging the absolute crap out of me. So let's go ahead and let's talk about this theory. Let's read some of the comments. And if you're not following me on Twitter, go ahead and do so right now at RealSW Theory. This is my new Twitter. I've had it for maybe like a month and a half, couple months now, and I'm having a great time being on there again. So, Moff Gideon had a mustache in the first 2 seasons. Didn't have a mustache in season 3. The Gideon clones also didn't have mustaches, which means the Gideon we saw walking around was actually a clone. What? Therefore, the real Moff Gideon is still alive. So sure, this could be a very well plausible theory that Moff Gideon indeed is so intelligent that that wasn't the real him. Now, this theory would be much more plausible if indeed we saw him talking to the Shadow Council with a mustache, and then later on he didn't have one when he died, when he was fighting Din. Now, I also must say, this Gideon that we saw in The Mandalorian, not the clones, but one that fought Din and Bo, he had the memory. He knew who Din was, he knew who Bo was, he knew that she had the Darksaber, all of this stuff. How does a clone get to know that kind of information unless there's some new sort of protocol which all the clones are being fed, you know, memories? Which could be possible. It's Star Wars. I mean, they were able to force imbue these Moff Gideon clones with the Force from Grogu. And if you've watched any of the Star Wars Legend stuff or read any of the stuff or played, you know, the games like Force Unleashed 2, you know that this is damn well near impossible. You can't create Force-sensitive clones. You just can't do it. Now, okay, let's go under the pretense here that Dr. Pershing is so freaking miraculous with his work, better than the Kaminoans, that he was able to take the midichlorians from Grogu, splice them somehow, and interject them into the DNA of these Moff Gideon clones. Okay, sure. But I highly doubt that's possible. Now, I find it hard to believe that Dr. Pershing would be extremely interested to continue this sort of research, but maybe he wants to continue the research of making non-Force sensitive beings Force sensitive. So that's a pretty interesting theory in itself, and the research for that definitely would be compelling to continue. Now, I personally think that indeed, this may have very well been a clone, that it wasn't the real Gideon, because the real Gideon, if he had all of these clones ready to go and he was watching Din and Grogu just on the machine, on the GPS there, on the map, and he's just chilling, he's just watching, he knows which direction they're going in, and he sees them going in this direction, doesn't do anything until his dude comes in, and he's like, you know what, I'm going to take care of them. He went the other way. He went completely the other way, if you remember this. And then when we see him again, like he's aware of all of this stuff, that Din is in the cloning room, he's fiddling with all the stuff, he's destroying it, and he's not doing anything. He's just chilling, he's waiting, his dramatic effect. Din and Grogu go into his room where the map was, and he's literally on the other side of the freaking thing. He's on the other side of the map, which he originally went the other way, right? So he went the way that Grogu and Din walked in. So to me, that screams Moff Gideon wants the entire galaxy to think that he's dead. He wants Thrawn to think that he's dead. Now, if we've learned anything from these cloned beings, I mean, they always come back. You know, look at Palpatine, somehow he returned. Now, personally, do I want Moff Gideon to return? Hell no, man. I think that would be so lame. The fact that he returned in season 3, I think I've had enough of Moff Gideon. You know, I feel like we should have gotten rid of him in the 2nd season. He came back. Okay, he's dead. He's gone. He's done. Could you imagine how ridiculous it would be if he was actually still around? No way, man. Come on. That can't be the... It wouldn't make for effective storytelling. But then again, you know, we could get eventually a cutscene or something with Thrawn interrogating Moff Gideon, and he's the one who actually kills the real one. That could very well be the case. There are many different avenues, of course, that they can take this, and behind the scenes somewhere, the real Gideon could actually be terminated, and no one would be the wiser. But to the galaxy right now, Gideon is gone, his clone army is gone, and perhaps this was his plan. Perhaps the Force-sensitive Moff Gideon is out there somewhere. And I would bet the real Moff Gideon, who isn't Force-sensitive, has the Force sensitivity put into him. And this makes me think that all of these clones that we saw were just a decoy. So, yeah, I buy into the theory. I would imagine that this Moff Gideon really was the clone that died, and the real one is out there somewhere doing some important stuff and hiding. Brumation, as John Kreese would call it. And he has Force sensitivity in him. Now, do I want that? No. I think Moff Gideon's had his time in the sun, and I think he's, it's time for him to move on and for us to focus on somebody else like Thrawn, Snoke even. I'll even focus on Snoke, man. If they make him really cool and epic, yeah, okay, cool, fine. We know he dies, but whatever. At least he can have a cool arc in the meantime. There was a lot of a connection and stuff that he had with Vader and, the catacombs beneath Vader's castle with that whole ring he had, the massive ring. Apparently, he was able to control a lot of things in the Force, and it was like some sort of a connection with the Force itself. In my opinion, it was a massive power because it was an obsidian ring from the depths of Vader's castle. The depths of Vader's castle had this portal that could go into time itself. Fan fiction-y, like crazy, comic book style, and it was in the comic books, but still, that's what we got. The inscriptions on the ring itself were from the Dwarti. The Dwarti were the gold statues that were in Palpatine's office, which were gifts from Darth Plagueis. Now, of course, these could have been just written in there for, crazy nerds like me that just kind of like go into this stuff, but they also could have a purpose that they maybe will draw from later on. So, yeah, man, get rid of Gideon, give us Thrawn, give us Snoke, give us Jorah Sabaoth kind of being, which is probably Balin in the Ahsoka show. Literally just a Jorah Sabaoth in my opinion, but switched up. He's a survivor of Order 66. He's not a clone, most likely. So yeah, we're pretty much going into the Heir to the Empire novels and story. However, my question is the real Moff Gideon somewhere in the galaxy alive? And is he Force sensitive? And is he learning how to actually use the Force? And that's something that I always was wondering, like with how Moff Gideon said that all of his clones are going to be the perfect army and they have all of the perfect attributes of himself, but they have the addition of the Force. What the heck does Moff Gideon know about the Force? He doesn't know how to use the Force. He doesn't know the first thing about the Force. He needs a teacher. A teacher you need. And that's really the thing, that's the problem with Moff Gideon, is that he didn't think of that. Unless there's something that we don't know about him, which could be the case. He could be Mandalorian, could have trained with Force senses. Maybe he knows the Inquisitors. I don't know. So that's, definitely something we always gotta think about when we talk about these cloned beings. Because the thing with cloning is the reason they're cloning themselves is for immortality. I think it's because of their ego. They want to live. And especially if you're cloning yourself, holy crap, tell me how much you love yourself without telling me how much you love yourself. So I think a guy as smart as Moff Gideon and someone, he's not as intelligent as Thrawn, but I definitely think he has his ducks in a row and he knows exactly what he's doing. I would imagine he has a plan B, C, D, E, and so on. So I would think that he actually, the one we saw was his shaved, with the shaved mustache. I think that was the actual Gideon. And he went out that door, which was the entrance that Din Djarin and Grogu came in later after they exploded the clones. And then the freaking Moff Gideon is over here, just waiting. It's like, dude, he's going through there and he's going to see all of those Moff Gideon clones and you're just going to let him for dramatic effect? No, I don't believe that. I mean, hey, maybe I'm looking into this a little bit too much. Like I'm expecting some adequate middle school writing here, but it just doesn't seem like something that Moff Gideon would do. He's a smart guy. He survived this long and he's in control of pretty much the whole Imperial fleet. He would have had a plan B, or he would have been able to kind of foresee if something went wrong here like it did last time. Gotta be able to get out of this some way, somehow. And I think those clones weren't all of the clones that he had created for himself. I think those are probably somewhere else that we just don't know about yet. So yeah, I definitely buy into the theory, but I don't want to see it. I want Moff Gideon to be done. My question to you is, do you think that this is actually the case? Is Moff Gideon gone for good? Was that the real Moff Gideon? He just shaved his mustache? Or was that a decoy and the real one is out there somewhere with the Force and growing more and more powerful? And is he going to team up with Thrawn, or are they going to have some sort of a spat, or what's going to go on there? So that's my question. As for what's going to happen with Mandalorian Season 4, I don't know. I'm going to go over that in another video, but I feel like they kind of just reset the whole show, but now with Grogu. So we can go into that into detail on that. But in the meantime, I wanted to go over this video specifically, and I appreciate all of you tagging me. Thank you so much for keeping me in your thoughts and wondering what I think about it too. Now it's my turn to ask you, what do you think about this? So let me know in the comments below, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Until then, remember, the Force will be with you always. Jedi Survivor in just a few more days. Live streams are back.